Warning, if you are easily offended and triggered by other people's opinions, even if unpopular, then I suggest you shut this review off immediately, and never return. I may also add my signature spoiler warning. Warning, this review will have spoilers in it, you have been warned. Anyway, let's get started. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is absolutely one of the worst and most overrated movies in existence. How this movie is considered a comedic piece of gold, I have no idea, and probably will never know. Almost nothing about this movie is funny. It feels like it was written by an 8-year-old, and it shatters my mind that this movie is as acclaimed as it is. If I was working for whatever company distributed this movie, which I do not remember which one it was, nor do I care, if I were assigned to review this script, I would burn it and flush all the ashes down the toilet. Now why do I hate this movie, you might be asking? Well, that's what I will answer in this review. But first let me promise you this, in my next episode, I will review a much more hated piece of cinema in exchange for what I am about to put probably most of you through, with this review. Unless of course you cannot make it through this review without throwing a massive tantrum and destroying the inner workings of your house. In such case, I recommend turning this review off, as I already said. Oh, and don't even bother coming to the next review, cause, if you threw a tantrum, you are naughty, and do not deserve to come back. But for the rest of you, let's get started in solving the great mystery, why I hate this movie. So basically the entire plot of this movie in a nutshell is, a senior high school student for whatever reason decides to skip school by faking an illness and doing random crap around Chicago with his buddies. Now let me ask you this real quick, why the crap are we supposed to side with and cheer for this protagonist, who deliberately and willfully cheats the system and skips school, all because he is a selfish rotten brat who only cares about what he wants to do. But you know what, it might not be so bad, if it weren't for the fact that we are talking about a senior high school student. That is one reason why I often in my mind compare this movie to Home Alone. No, not just because they were both done by John Hughes. With Home Alone, the formula worked absolutely perfectly, because we are talking about a 6-or-so-year-old kid. As such, kids at such an age are far more likely to do this kind of crap than a senior high school student. Not to mention, half of the movie he does all the crap he does in an attempt to save his life, from the two house burglars Marv and Harry, so it is somewhat justified. I am only scratching the surface in that subject. This review would be far too long and far too off topic if I explained everything I have to say on that in this review. That is literally a review in and of itself, which I shall shelf for a later time. But anyway, as I was saying, I have no idea why the crap I should cheer on this protagonist, a senior high school student who decides for whatever reason to skip school and do random crap around Chicago. I would far rather see Mr. Rooney win, but of course, that is only wishful thinking on my part, of course. Sure, Mr. Rooney is kind of a hothead, and even at times stupid, but at least he's on the right side of this. What Buellard is doing is absolutely unacceptable, and if I were Mr. Rooney, I'd tear the absolute crap out of him the first chance I got to. Yet for some reason in this movie, he is portrayed as some sort of villain, some sort of evil deity. This reminds me of that documentary based off of that old game show called Press Your Luck, involving Michael Larson, a contestant who memorized the board patterns and won a crap ton of money from it, far more than anyone else has. Yet this documentary is edited and presented in such a way that Larson is looked at as the villain, like, as if he had cheated or something. Why would he be? All he did was memorize the system, and CBS, or whatever studio it was, didn't like that. They assumed that just because he won a crap ton of money that surely he had cheated somehow, and did not want to award him his money. In the end, of course, they could not prove that he cheated and did give him his money, so he won, as he should have. In this movie, Mr. Rooney should have won by a long shot. He should have turned Buellard inside out at the end in the porch. Why should he have lost for only doing his job? Now I know some of you are probably going to make up some crappy excuse like, but Microsoft Sam, Mr. Rooney trespassed on Buellard's property. He didn't deserve to win. Now yes, you have somewhat of a point, Mr. Rooney did trespass, but then again, does that mean I should automatically side with the student who started this whole mess in the first place by sneaking out of school and instead going to Chicago? Exactly. Mr. Rooney is what I call a Disney charm villain. I'm sorry, I know that's a horrible name, I'll work on that later. But anyway, he is what I would classify into a category of villains, whether they are from Disney movies or not, that are so likable, and so awesome, that you don't want to see them lose, or die, whatever. He should have gotten to the end and punished the ever-loving crap out of Buellard. Had that happened, I would have probably gotten out of my chair and stood up and cheered at my screen in great pleasure. Oh wait, I live in Microsoft Windows, I can't stand up. But whatever, you get the point. Now let's talk about the next reason why there is nothing funny about this piece of crap at all. So after Buellard sneaks out of his house and into Chicago, what does he do? He does a bunch of random crap. He goes to the top of the Sears Tower, or whatever it was called in 1986, and just looks down. Then stops by this museum of some kind. Okay, and this is funny how. I don't at all get what they are going for, whether it's humor or whatever else, like some morbid scene of quote-unquote relation with the characters and audience, or whatever else. Okay, time for a moment of honesty. The scene where Mr. Rooney looks over at the screen and the screen cuts away from Lard being on public TV was sort of funny. It was also unfunny, because Mr. Rooney should have caught him, but it was at least clever, somewhat. There you go, see, I'm not being biased about this movie, I am being so honest about it. A halo is forming over my head, as I speak. Oh wait, I live in Microsoft Windows, I don't have a head. Darn it, but still, a halo is forming somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, anyway, moving on, and then the stupid parade scene. Oh god, I forgot about this stupid scene. Okay, seriously, if someone could actually point out and explain to me just how in the world this scene is supposed to be funny, I would actually appreciate it, but otherwise, here it is. For no reason Lard crashes a parade and begins singing a Beach Boys song, while the onlookers stand there and cheer. And the point of this scene was, exactly. Not only was this scene not funny, in any way, but you could have completely cut it out of the movie and it would have not made a single bit of difference. But then again, there are several of these scenes in the movie. My only possible guess is that it's supposed to, I don't even know, get the audience energetic, somehow, I guess. But then again, we are talking about a senior high school student who should be in school right now, and isn't, meaning, if that is what they were going for, it instantaneously crumbles apart into a pile of rubble and ash. Now here is a question of curiosity I have. Okay, so when Lard is singing his song, the crowd is going absolutely crazy, they can't get enough of Lard. So isn't possible, somehow, that news of this event would eventually circulate around Chicago, and word would eventually get out to the public that Lard was there, at this parade. I understand this is 1986, and that not everyone had a cell phone with a camera like today, but then again, this is 1986, not 1914. Cameras did in fact exist in 1986, which the emoji and selfie-obsessed teens of today probably would have never guessed was true, but yes, they did. Therefore with that information, that does not rule out the possibility of him possibly appearing in a newspaper the next morning, and should he would be busted, and this apparently is the reason why Mr. Rooney couldn't punish Lard when it was all said and done. He apparently could not prove to the school that he had snuck out, because he also hacked the computer's student logging system and hid evidence that he was con. But should this newspaper circulate, Mr. Rooney would immediately have more than enough evidence to turn him inside out, and into the school's biggest embarrassment. I kind of wish someone would hurry and produce a sequel where that happens. That will probably never happen, but who knows, maybe it will. I would become employed with Hollywood for that reason alone, if I could make that happen. Now later on in the movie, when they return the red Ferrari that one of Lard's buddy's father owns, and they realize the speedometer has skyrocketed, they actually do it. They actually try to get the car to drive in reverse, while risen on jacks, in hopes of turning back the speedometer. Okay, wait a minute, so the same person that is apparently smart enough to hack into the computer's system at the school, and hide evidence that he has snuck out of school, is also stupid enough to believe that driving a car backwards will actually reverse the speedometer. We're actually talking about the same person here, aren't I right? I have this right, I think. So after that happens, then of course the quote-unquote iconic car crash sequence happens, where the car is driven backwards and out of the garage, basically totaled. When it is all said and done, the father's son is basically left to wait for his father to get home and explain to him everything that happened. There are two major things wrong with this entire garbage mess of a scene. First of all, so wait a minute, this guy, whom Lard dragged into all of this crap in the first place, and initially wanted nothing to do with any of this, is left to face his consequences, but at the same time, the movie ends with Lard getting away with his actions. As if it didn't annoy me before that Lard wins in this movie, now I really hate it. If I ever produce that sequel, I will have it end with Lard somehow getting sent to state prison. The second thing is, wait a minute, so, if he explains all of this to his father, then he would be telling him that it was Lard's brilliant idea to skip school and go to Chicago, so wouldn't that be yet another open door for Lard to get his behind turned into a knot by either his father or his principal? Now at this point, some of you will object again by saying, but Microsoft Sam, Lard offered to take the blame, so he's not that bad after all. Okay, but if that's true, then, why the crap did he rush back home later at the end and non-verbally command his sister not to tell his parents about what happened that day? So after that horrible scene transpires, Beelard quickly escapes and attempts to get home before his parents do, so that they won't find out about what happened, which is something else. He offers to take blame 5 minutes earlier and now he's rushing home to cover up his dirty secrets about his day's events. I don't know about you, but this appears to be inconsistency, if you ask me. And then of course I still can't get over the stupid scene where Beelard's father is oblivious to the fact that his own son is running right there beside his car. If he really cannot notice anybody, let alone his own son, running beside his car, he should not even be able to be driving in the first place. And then of course Beelard gets home, and has his confronting with Mr. Rooney, but wins anyway. And then after that the movie pretty much ends, except not without breaking the fourth wall by saying quote, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it," end quote. So wait, the entire message of this movie is to skip school, or work, depending on how old you are, and just do whatever the crap you want, because life is short, so to speak. That cannot possibly be what they are trying to encourage, so what was the point of presenting as such to the audience that way? I don't know, I am completely baffled by what the writers were thinking, assuming they were even thinking, assuming they even had the capability of thinking, assuming they were even human, when they were writing this retarded screenplay. Whoever approved of this piece of crap going into production should be dragged away by men wearing black down to NASA and shot to Pluto to live there for the rest of his life. That is all I have to say about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you successfully got triggered during this review, 1. You should have shut it off like I asked you to. You brought this all upon yourself. And 2. Raffle. Otherwise, if you made it through this entire review without getting triggered, congratulations, but nobody cares. Tune in again next time, where I, Microsoft Sam, will discuss another movie in review right here on YouTube.com. Until then, this is Microsoft Sam, signing off.